Right, a period of transition it is then, agreed by the Queen, William, Charles and Harry, to allow Harry and Meghan to spend time in both the UK and Canada, while the finer details of their future relationship with the monarchy are worked through. In a really personal statement released yesterday, the Queen said, "My family and I are entirely supportive of Harry and Meghan's desire to create a new life as a young family. Although we would have preferred them to remain full-time working members of the royal family, we respect and understand their wish to live a more independent life as a family while remaining a valued part of my family." The Canadian PM, Justin Trudeau, had this to say when asked whether Canadians will be responsible for paying for the couple's security.
There's still a lot of decisions to be taken by the royal family, by the Sussexes themselves, as to what level of engagement they choose to have. And these are things that we are obviously supportive of their reflections, but have responsibilities in that as well. We're not entirely sure what the final decisions will be, where the dispositions are, and those are decisions for them. I think most Canadians are very supportive of having royals be here, but how that looks and what kind of costs is involved, there's still lots of discussions to have.
Yeah. Well, let's talk now to Dean Stott, a former British Special Forces soldier who trained alongside Prince Harry and has been a friend of his for 12 years. Also with us, Nick Eade, a public relations expert who knew Meghan 5 years ago and introduced her to various people when she first came to this country. Also here, Dr. Shola Mos-Shobamimu, who is a lawyer and women's rights activist, and of course our royal correspondent Johnny Diamond. Welcome all of you. Dean, did you know that he really hated the media spotlight?
Obviously, he's mentioned back in October that he could see history repeating itself. So, he made a point in that comment, I think, that, that he has a potential dislike to the way the media go about things.
But having known him all this time, did you know he disliked that element of his job?
He's actually a shy individual. When I met him in the military, I think that's where he was most comfortable. He was a way out of that spotlight. He was a neutral with his counterparts. Obviously he has his royal duties and he has to be in the public light, but I think where he's most comfortable is away and out shot of the media. Yeah.
And what do you think of this arrangement now for his future?
His personal circumstances have changed in the last 2 years. He's now married Meghan, he's got a young family with Archie. He's not going to be the future king, but I think where their passions are is charity, and I think he sees himself best served doing that, working alongside Meghan. And
you, of course, knew him pre-Meghan.
Yes.
And post-Meghan. Do you see a difference? What do you say to those who say she's the one that's driving this?
No, if you ask me, when I asked my friends, did I see them more often when I was married? No, I wasn't. He's now a family man, and so his priorities have changed. He now needs to serve Meghan and Archie and just be a normal person as best possible.
Yeah. Nick, you introduced Meghan to various people when she first came to this country, and you became her friend. How were you helping her when she first got here?
Well, when she came here, she was working with me on some charity actual work. As soon as I met her, I understood she's very, very altruistic, and she really wanted to use sort of her talents of fame in a really good way. And also, she was in Suits at the time, and she wanted to look at how she could potentially be in plays in the West End when they have that downtime when they're not filming. So I sort of helped her meet a few agents, etc.
Right. And the friendship hasn't been maintained. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, the friendship hasn't been maintained. It's like any friendship, as you just said. You get married and people drop off. But also, I think, it's a different shift. And she's gone her way and I've gone my way. I sent her a text when she obviously got married, etc., wishing her lots of love and good luck. And I think,
you didn't get a reply.
Didn't get a reply, but you've probably changed her phone number. But, the fact of the matter is that I'm not bitter about that. I'm not somebody like Piers Morgan who's going to talk about it all the time. All I'm going to say is I'm just proud of what she's done. And I think the future for them is really exciting.
And we're going to talk about what kind of things they might do when it comes to paid employment in the future with you in just a moment. Shola, you have been accused of being racist against white people by no less than James Jordan, a former pro dancer on Strictly. He's the most high-profile name who's accused you of that. I mean, what do you think of that when you've been in the media saying, yeah, of course racism has played a part here?
I think, first of all, I know that I'm not a racist, and I understand that for a lot of people who are triggered by the truth of racism, they can't handle the truth. And because they can't handle the truth, they would look to displace, to distract. I am not anti-white. Being anti-racist means being anti-white. There's just no correlation. It makes no sense. The fact that not just me, but a lot of other people, including white people, have called out racism, not just within the context of what's happening with Harry and Meghan, but that it is a cultural issue in the United Kingdom, tells you that it's something that people are really uncomfortable about talking. And yet, I also think about the fact that I find it quite interesting that people are more outraged about the so-called race card being played than being outraged by racist behavior. It begs the question, what kind of society are we? Why is it difficult for you to understand, accept that it's also your responsibility? And the fact that a lot of people, like myself, there's black people, ethnic minorities, are done with having to bear the burden of not only being oppressed by racism, then having to defend ourselves from the racism, then having to explain what that racism to people who perpetuate the racism, and then bear the brunt of the denial from the same perpetrators that our lived experience of racism doesn't exist. People,
yeah,
we're done with that.
It's exhausting. Johnny, what's going to happen in the next few days, and will that iron out their future?
I don't know what's going to happen in the next few days.
Thank you for being
and
honest.
It won't iron out the problems in their future.
Okay.
Is my best guess.
Let's talk about the